Hello and welcome to another episode of With Enough Prep Time. I'm your host, the Nerd Man, and today we're talking about Superman and Lois, episode 2. Just finished watching it, and I wanted to do a kind of very brief review on the episode. So today's episode was kind of like really interesting. I mean, the last episode I was a bit on the fence of whether this show was maybe too much aimed towards, like, the Christopher Reeves era Superman fans, and that it wasn't kind of modern enough, like a take that anybody who wasn't a Superman fan would be able to kind of relate and get into this show, especially because it's like, about Superman being a family man. That's like real into the Superman kind of story, and it's not like a really good introduction point to new people, which unfortunately, because of the most recent attempts at Superman, which is Man of Steel, and before that the Superman Returns, that I still think this generation needs to be kind of really reintroduced to a new Superman. So I was just kind of like, this whole thing with him being an old man and him being, the father of, like having teenage sons and all of this kind of thing. I didn't know how relatable that was to a younger audience. But I can say, actually, of this episode, so this was episode 2, and it was titled Heritage, that I thought some really, really interesting developments came up in this episode. So let me just go over like what the episode was about. So today's episode was about the family actually adjusting to their new lives in Smallville. So Lois and Clark have to basically take on each one of their sons. And there's also a really good story that's going on in the background with Lois taking on a captain of industry kind of guy who's investing in Smallville. His name is Morgan Edge. I really liked that little subplot. Last week, Superman actually has his son, one of his sons, which is Jordan Kent, discover that he has Superman powers. So Clark decides he's going to train him by taking him to the Fortress of Solitude. This leaves his other son, Jonathan Kent, basically to be going to school as normal, and obviously he's kind of envious of the father-son time that Clark and Jordan are having because of his new powers emerging. So that's the kind of basic dynamic, and I thought that was really, really cool. And what happened out of that was, Jordan discovers that his human side is still so strong that he can't actually absorb the kind of sunlight that Clark can, and his powers, he'll never really be able to control them properly. So he goes from feeling like he's this really, really special kid to realizing that he's nothing. He's not that special in the end. I'm sure that's going to change over time. Jonathan Kent, is just jealous. Like, obviously his the Jordan now gets to stay off school. He gets to hang out with his dad, learn about his history, learn about Kryptonian history, his grandparents, his heritage, all of that kind of stuff. And obviously that's going to be quite annoying. In fact, I kind of thought, why wouldn't Clark take both of them? That's kind of silly that the show did that. It seemed a bit artificial. It didn't seem like something that, Clark or any dad would do. If you're going to take your children to see your grandparents, right, like, and find out about their heritage, you do it with all of them. So that was a bit weird. But nonetheless, what I'll say about this episode is it's still the budget and the quality is really, really high. They are going for it with the storytelling. I think the acting by Tyler Hoechlin and Elizabeth Tulloch as Lois Lane is especially good. I really liked Elizabeth Tulloch this week as Lois Lane. I like the storyline that is happening with her, where she's actually investigating like some mystery that's at the center of the town, where, you know, as I said, some very wealthy guy called Morgan Edge is kind of buying up towns and using them for cheap labor, while promising them, you know, the moon and sky and everything. And I thought that was really cleverly dealt with, you know, as, you know, a real problem happening in the modern world around, you know, labor is being exploited in small provincial towns. So I thought that was good. I also want to shout out Wale Parks, who's playing Captain Luthor. We don't yet know if he is actually Lex Luthor still. I hope he is, and my only problem is, because they've race bent him and now he's black, that I really, really hope that he actually gets to be, like, he's shown to be the genius Lex Luthor, because now he's just a military guy who, in some alternate reality, is fighting, you know, Superman, essentially. Or he fought Superman in an alternate reality, where Superman was basically, you know, the evil Superman, so who took over the world. So he's now come to this new reality with Tyler Hoechlin's, you know, the good Superman, and he's trying to basically stop Superman before he actually becomes the evil Superman. So that's a really interesting storyline, but I just hope because he's shown to be a really, really good strategist, but I hope they do keep that element of Lex Luthor, if he in fact turns out to be Lex Luthor, that he is a genius. I want to give out a shout out also to the set design. I really liked that they brought back the kind of crystal motif of Superman. I thought that was sorely missing from projects like Man of Steel. I would have loved to see a Zack Snyder take on like the crystal planet of Krypton and the crystal technology. I think that's really important to Superman. You know, I think that's kind of like the Batcave or the you know, the Batmobile. I really think those elements are what make, you know, any take on Superman seem iconic. You know, where it's connected to its heritage, but you do a new spin on what that crystal technology actually means and what's the function of it, how it works. You know, so it was really nice to see that crystal technology back, and, you know, that motif within the sort of Fortress of Solitude. I think the Fortress of Solitude, I hope that we get a more in-depth look at it, because at the moment it's just like a cave thing, and I want it to be a proper Fortress of Solitude, you know, with all the Kryptonian architecture and statues and that kind of thing. But altogether, I think the effects are good. I think the storyline is good. I think it is something that people can get into, even if they're not necessarily Superman fans now. But I have to say that it still needs work, because it's, you know, the teenagers at the moment, because it's Alex Garfin and Jordan Ellis, Elsas, are the ones playing the teenage sons. And I'm going to be honest, they're the weakest part of the show. And it's not their storylines that are the weakest part of the show, it's their actual acting. They're the only ones who are not bringing up the acting level to being beyond what I expect of the CW. Everyone else is bringing like hardcore acting game. Wale Parks was really good, who was playing Captain Luthor. The guy who plays Morgan Edge, who's the rich guy who's taking over who's taking over Smallville, he was really good. A number of different other secondary actors are all really, really good. In fact, even the rest of the teenagers are very, very good. So it's just the two sons. They're not, you know, they're a bit rough around the edges, a little bit CW-ish, kind of the actors you'd expect on the Flash show, whereas this show seems a little bit more elevated above that, and I just hope they improve. But that's the only real drawback to me saying that, you know, unequivocally this show will appeal to everyone, because they're the ones who are supposed to bring in the young audience, and they're just not very good at the moment. So apart from that, I want to give this episode a real high praise. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10 in terms of my own rating, but it's a fun show, and I think it's gonna get better. I hope it does. If it stays at this quality, then at least we're looking at a fun show. It might not be a masterclass or, something we'll look back on years later and think, but it's good Superman for once in a long time. The only other thing I would say is I really, when I saw there was a little intro at the beginning of the first episode. So it was right at the beginning of the at the beginning of the first episode, which showed how Clark got here and the first year in the Daily Planet. I really want to see that show. I've got to be honest. I know it's like the beginning of Clark and his adventures again, but I want to see that show. And you know what? I want to see a major motion picture of what happened there, because they look like such a good Lois and Clark, meeting up for the first time, and how they, fell for each other, and the adventures that he went on, and how he saved Metropolis many times. I want to know that. I want to know that show. So this show is interesting. I like it, but Clark as a dad, it's great, but I think the Lois and Clark bit is the strongest bit of this show. The Superman, Lois, Clark, Captain Luthor stuff, Lois investigating, that's the strongest part of the show, and I hope I don't hope that's what they focus on. I just hope that the teenagers get better in terms of their storylines and how they're acting out their storylines, so that it will have a wider appeal to younger audiences. But that's me. Thanks so much. That will be my review of Superman and Lois episode 2. So, by the way, please give me a high five. Do like and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks so much for watching. Always enjoy your feedback. Give me a high five. Smash the like button, subscribe for more content. Please comment, tell me what you thought of the episode and how you think it's going so far. What do you think of the kid actors, by the way, who are playing Clark's sons? Let me know what you think of them as well. Thanks, bye.